Hello people, I am Poorpl and today we are checking out another free Epic Games game. This one is Universe for Sale. I want this video to be very honest, so I will try not to sugarcoat my own opinion too much. Like, I didn't love this game too much because I don't even know if it's just because of the genre of the game or if it is because the game itself is a bit mid. I can't really tell you. I like to think it's about what I like not being represented in this game, not because the game itself is not that good, okay? I don't really think this is anything special, but this might be the game of the year for you, you know? So you might as well go and check it out. It's free. Save it to your library, and if you want to play it in a few months, you can play it, you know? First, let's just start talking about what this game is. This is a visual novel in the form of an interactive game with pretty pictures. The world building is fairly good, mostly through dialogue, but still there are some little bits sprinkled here and there about what happens, what's going on and stuff. Like, visually, there's decent world building. I'm not going to pretend there isn't, there is. And it still leaves a lot to your imagination. It doesn't really force feed you everything. It doesn't really make it so that everything can be found within the game. Some things you can just look at and be like, oh, that happens because of this, or this is that way, you know? There's like a lot of lore that just gives you 80% and you need to figure the other 20% out if you want to. So I like that. The main issue that I really have with this game though is the fact that your choices have little to no importance in the story. There are no real ways that you can choose something so wrong that you need to revert to a previous save file. There's really no way for you to mess up in any way. Even when you're wrong, you are just going to get a little bit of exposition about why you're wrong, and then the character will choose the right option for you. So that's something about this game. And yeah, you pretty much should always choose the wrong option so that you learn more about the game. That's sadly what this game is about, in my opinion. Like, this ends up being like that on a second playthrough. So yeah, in my opinion, it has a lot of flaws, especially when it comes to this. Now let's talk about the game itself, the lore and stuff, okay? In Universe for Sale, you follow two main characters. A cultist, or a cult master, and a woman who can make universes using her own hands and materials she has. The story of the game is mostly about how they meet, how they interact with each other, and how there's some weird non-linear things going on. That's the big draw, in my opinion, for this game, is the way that the story is told. Not the story itself, even though the story is interesting, but the way that the story is told. It's a bit like mouthwashing from last year, if you remember that. So the story is not very linear. It's not just you start at point A and you end at point B. It's a lot more like you have this little bit, then you go back to here, then you go ahead to here, then you go and fill this blank, you know? It's more like that. And I find the story interesting because of that. And the character himself, like the one of the characters, I'm going to say it like that, sees the thing that you are seeing. Like, you are playing for him, like that's the real time thing going on. However, in the real world, he's moving forward and back in time. Sorry, that's a bit of a spoiler. I will put a spoiler warning in the video itself, because yeah. One of the things I also found interesting is that between different playthroughs, the chapters will be jumbled in a different way. There's a little bit of grounding at the end of some chapters where you'll be listening to a story, like being told to a child. That also has lore implications and stuff, but we're not going to talk about that part on this video, okay? And that is a little bit grounding because at least that story is always going on the right order. Like, you're not going to get the last chapter of that little story before you get the first. And there's a lot of lore in that story. I played it twice to make sure I got most of the lore I could, at least like what the developers made easy to access, and that I generally understood the world. At the end of the day, my opinion is that although the story has some very interesting topics and a generally great world building and the way the story is told, the gameplay is lacking and a bit boring when you get to it. You're mostly just walking around, using your mouse to choose where you walk to, clicking things to interact with, and moving through dialogue. It's a point and click game pretty much, with a story behind it, with a little bit of dialogue. It's not really very interactive, okay? This is not my type of game. Maybe it is yours. I've played other visual novels before, and I think like of the 3 I've played before this, I only finished one. There are some mini games, some like quick time type events going on, and I also kind of have an issue with them. The universe making minigame is a bit complex, and you need to play it a few times before you even understand what you're trying to do. Even the like hints that you get in the game are not great, because it's just some drawings, and the drawings sometimes they do make sense, okay, like for some things they do make sense, but other times they're like, yeah, but how the fuck do I get a pink bubble, okay? When you play, you'll understand what I mean, okay? The other mini games are usually very simplistic. What I said are quick time events. They are not really quick time events. Like, you don't need to really do them like in the right moment. Sometimes you can just get it wrong a couple times, and eventually you'll get it right, and no one fucking cares in the game, okay? I'm not really entranced by the gameplay. A little bit of final words about this. I will not be making a big recommendation like I did with Zoti. I think the game is interesting. I don't really think it's a lot of fun to play. Like, it's a story. It's like you're reading a book. There's no real choose your own adventure type thing. It's just move through the story and you learn about it as you play, okay? The first chapter I think is always the same. The last chapter I think is always the same. Besides that, everything is jumbled up. And to be honest, like, I still think you should play it. I think the experience is interesting, but there are some things about the story itself that kind of irks me. There are topics I don't think should have been included, like, and yeah, again, I know I'm being very negative in this video, and if while I'm being negative you still think even a little bit that the game might be good or interesting, go and check it out, okay? Again, I already said this is not my type of game. This is not my cup of tea. I usually don't play this type of stuff. Like, I never finished Doki Doki literature. Fuck, I never finished Doki Doki literature. Fuck it, club. I played like 80% of the game, I think. I'm not even sure, and I just dropped it because I was not really feeling it. It's not my thing usually to play. This game is not too long, so even if it's not your thing, you might enjoy it because you probably will not be experiencing it for long enough to get bored of it. But yeah, either way, whether you play it or not, I hope you have fun doing whatever you do, and I'll see you next time. Bye!